ma'am, we see about Garud's character and how he thinks about Chandali and the kind of this thing to protect a woman and why is she alone or what is she going to do. So I really like the way you had brought that character out. So why specifically did you choose Garud, and like what was your thought process in this whole scene?
See, the Garud plays a role in the story. In the original itself, he's the one who brings Galav to Yayati. But before doing that, he tries to help Galav, fulfill this promise which he has made, Galav has made to his guru Vishwamitra, and which he has to fulfill at any cost. I think one thing that has to be understood is that in that world, these obligations were sacrosanct. Today, you can't fulfill a promise to your guru. It really doesn't matter. You can. But in those days, this notion of Guru Dakshina, fulfilling the process of education didn't end till the Guru Dakshina was given, and the guru could demand. So Vishwamitra, as you know in the story, makes a very difficult demand: 800 white horses, each with a single year. Galav cannot fulfill it, and Garud comes into the story to help him. And it is while they are traveling and journeying, in search of these horses, that the story of Chandali comes. It's just a little, blink and you'll miss it story. What is this woman living in the wilderness all about? But it actually is about, again, another belief of the times that a woman could not be without a male anchor in her life. She could not live alone. So she had to have her father, her husband or her son, some male protector in her life, and who would be around, So this is what this particular story is about. And Garud is, you see Chandali living alone, and his intention is, why is she living alone? She looks like a good Brahmin woman. She needs to be under protection, which is, I think, something which we can understand even today, that very often the protector can become overprotective. And as you say, we don't really need protection. We just need kind of support. So this is the role that Garud plays in the story. It's a kind of foreshadowing of what happens with Drishadwati as well, when in the end.
I think it was a very nice, even though it's just a little, a small part of the bigger story, it still makes a lot of sense, because even today, like you said, that is what, the men think. They want to protect the women, or, there has to be somebody, it should always accompany the woman and they shouldn't be alone. And so things like that, although this is like mythology, this still applies today as well. So I think that is something that does make us all think, and to say that we just need a support. Like that's the women it's not about the protection, but it's about the support that is more important.
Yeah, not only the support. The ideal thing would be to not need that kind of protection at all. To have a society where women can move without fear.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing, and we are still working towards that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next question. So what is your favorite part or chapter in this whole book?
Well, there are bits and pieces that I really like, where the characters, I have to say this, though I always laugh when anybody else says that, the characters take over and they start talking amongst themselves and all that. When you're writing, you feel, I am the one who's making these characters speak, and I can change a word here, sentence, then change the meaning. But it does happen, and this is the parts where this happens spontaneously in the story. Like, for instance, whenever there's a conversation between two women, I find those bits very interesting. So whether it is Drishadwati talking with Sarmishtha, that whole question, of it flows naturally when she's, saying, why is life like this? What I'll never leave this life. And then the question, what does a woman want? Which I think is one of the questions which I have tried to look at in the book. And the answers that come out of Sarmishtha were at that point I felt the characters had taken over and they were just having a conversation and all I was doing was listening. So it was the story telling itself and perhaps even listening to itself, you know. The story became a breathing, living thing at that point. So there are moments like this, you know, where I feel that as an author, it was taken away from me.
That's
And-
very beautiful. It's like submerged into that world actually.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
It has
like-
gotten into that world, and the story is breathing and living by itself. Whenever this happens in the book, and there are places where it happens, I just feel that those are the magical places for me.
Wow, that's very nice.